Music mogul and entrepreneur Sean Diddy Combs has finally been arrested. He has been taken into federal custody. Now, if you've been living under a rock, I don't know if I even need to explain who P. Diddy is. Diddy or Sean Combs or Love, whatever name he has wanted to be known as. He is a hip hop legend. I believe he's a billionaire. Been a savvy businessman, built an empire spanning music, fashion, spirits, everything. P. Diddy has finally been arrested and he's facing charges for racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud or coercion, and transportation to engage in prostitution. These are the charges that Diddy is facing. What a sigh of relief. According to the indictment that was released, I read all 14 pages. And Diddy has been inflicting violence on people, men and women. According to the indictment, it's probably beyond that. But what they've been able to, at least the evidence they have, goes as far back as 2009. Last 15 years, this man has been just doing appalling things. Now, I'm going to break down a little bit what the indictment said and what the evidence that they found. He used his position and his authority to create havoc and chaos on the lives of so many people who he knew were hoping for an opportunity in the industry in some way. And many times when people are in position of authority and power, we have to realize that the people that are in a positions of authority and power, they cannot use those positions of authority and power unless they are enabled by an ecosystem. The ecosystem of the music industry, the ecosystem of the label industry helped Puff Daddy, Sean Combs, P. Diddy continue to wreak havoc, chaos on people's lives. He often used his position of authority and power to force and coerce people into participating in parties where male commercial workers would inflict sexual acts on the victims. And these victims were oftentimes drugged up. They were also recorded without their permission, and they were forced to commit lewd sexual acts while Diddy watched, enjoyed it, physically abused and assaulted them, and masturbated to these sexual acts that were being enacted on them without their permission. P. Diddy is a busy man. He's not only a busy man, he is a massive, huge celebrity. For him to have these parties went on for days and days and days sometimes. And for the parties to go on, the girls would be, the victims would be drugged up, there would be IV fluids. There's a lot of logistics that needed to happen for these parties to take place. He could not have done it alone. The people around him, his personal assistants, his executives, his personal assistants, members of his team, his security aides, many of them were there, contributing, assisting, watching, while he continues to destroy people's lives. People will ask and say, why didn't any of these girls report? The indictment spoke about the fact that they found multiple firearms that were not licensed and the serial number had been wiped off. And Diddy would often use firearms to threaten and inflict fear on the victims. Don't forget, he had also recordings of the victims when these sexual acts were being performed on them. So he would use that as blackmail to hush them up. In addition, he would also use the fact that he's a person in position of authority, and he would use it as a way to withhold some of the victims' access and ability to be able to further up and move their careers in the industry, which is an abuse of power. In the indictment also mentioned and discussed how when it came to Cassie, his ex-girlfriend, specific acts of violence were actually done in public, and there were well-known celebrities who were there who, after he punched and kicked her, did absolutely nothing. There's no smoke without fire. People have been talking about P. Diddy. People have been uncomfortable with P. Diddy for years. Hey, God. When we watched him on Making the Band tell the contestants that they should trek across the bridge in New York to go and get him his favorite cheesecake, we thought it was band's jokes and contents. We thought it was producing. Someone has been showing us their true colors for years. I know. Do you know, There's so many people that always were just like, there's something about Speedy. At least I was like, why? Because you cannot be made up of evil and it doesn't seep from your pores. It doesn't work like that. As a man thinketh, so he is. The acts, if you have time, go and read the indictment. And I bet you the indictment doesn't include half of what actually happened or what he's done. Because remember, the indictment is only from 2009. And P. Diddy has been in the industry longer than most of you and I have been born. But my main concern is the fact that P. Diddy was able to get away with this for so long because people benefited from his position, his authority, his ability to create superstars, and they were willing to go along with it. And this is what we constantly see happen, is that so many times people are willing to choose their financial pockets over the fact that someone's life is being destroyed. And it's not just a life, lives were being destroyed. P. Diddy is a predator. He is evil. He's wicked. And he should never have been able to get away with this for 15 years. But what people have to understand, people say, why didn't the victims? People were terrified of this man. We don't know the half of what he's capable of. Those victims knew what he was capable of. And they were not willing to, they knew what he was capable of. And then at the end of the day, who will believe them? Who will believe them? Because we all know that when it comes to people, men who are in positions of authority, they wield power and they use that power to silence their victims. Because at the end of the day, you can't tell me that someone is having parties where people are doing lewd sex acts and we know there are other people invited and the whole industry doesn't know about it. You can't say that now. They all knew. But many people were willing to turn their eye the other way as long as it doesn't affect their pockets, as long as it doesn't affect their wallets. I'm looking forward to seeing how this case is going to play out. But I'm deeply concerned about how so many other people are getting away with such acts of violence and using their position of authority to destroy people's lives on the account of the fact that there's so many people who are willing to be cowards and are more interested in their pocket and the benefit that that person's brings to them than standing up for justice, truth, and integrity. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know why you guys think Diddy was able to get away with this for so long. Let's see how this continues to play out. All right, guys, that's it for today on The Scoop. Bye.